So today we have a guest speaker, a nice young man that I met about a year ago through my son and his law firm. And Mauricio, who's here with us today, is in the web design business. So let's give it up for Mauricio. Thank you for being with us today.
So, how's it going, guys? So, yeah, my name is Mauricio. I guess I'll tell you a little bit about myself.
Sure.
You know, I do websites, marketing of the websites, social media marketing, something called SEO, which means getting someone on the first page of Google based on certain keywords, search engine optimization. And lastly, I do reputation management. So that's actually one of my most recent services that you know, people are getting a lot of bad reviews online, especially on Yelp, Google. So you know, it's becoming a problem. So now I can get in there and, you know, offer my services to help them out. And that's probably the biggest thing about my industry. You know, I'm here to help people grow their business, essentially in a nutshell. And I'm a part therapist, part, you know, firefighter. I like to put out fires, they say, and, you know, I listen to people's problems, and they tell me, and then I come up with a solution. Sometimes on the spot, or sometimes I have to research. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I always like to say, you know, I'll start from the beginning. You know, the dinosaurs, and then, you know, the meteor crash and everything. But I'll skip that part. You know, how I started out was I was pretty miserable in school, I won't lie. I went to NASA and NASA Community College. Had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I liked computers. I was a pretty big nerd. Like you said before, I was introverted. I know you guys mentioned that. I was heavily introverted. I did not like to leave my room. You know, I was just working at a grocery store, Trader Joe's, and then I was at a loss. You know, I didn't know. Then after that, I went to Queens College. I kept doing computer stuff. I remember I failed the class, linear algebra. I was not good at math. I just sat there, and luckily, you know, I had a mentor, my brother. We're about 14 years apart. He kind of saw me. He was like, you know, what are you doing, man? You know, you gotta listen to the birds, man. You gotta just relax. You know, life has its problems, and, you know, you gotta deal with it sometimes. And he was right. So, but luckily, he actually started his own website company, and he's kind of doing similar stuff right now. But before he was doing similar stuff then. But he kind of mentored me a little bit, you know. And he said, you know, you have an experience in computers. You know, you have a programming background. At the time, I was studying computer science and biology. Eventually, I ended up dropping the biology, and then I was like, yeah, why not? I'm working at a grocery store. I'm miserable. I had nothing else. What did I have to lose, pretty much? So I put in a little bit of money. I think I invested maybe $500. I made a logo, a website, bought the domain, and that was it. And I went on Craigslist. And I just started finding, you know, side jobs here and there while working at I used to work at Trader Joe's and going to school at the same time. It was tough. I made some pretty bad deals in the beginning. I always like to tell my people that I'm telling the story to, I lost money on my very first project. I lost around $100 because I had to hire another designer, because I'm really a programming. With the designing, you kind of have to have an eye for it. So I kind of overestimated that, and I actually did that a couple times. But, you know, I always like to say, it's like a lesson you pay for. You don't make it again. You know, and I never did it. You know, that $100 was kind of an investment that I lost, but, you know, that I kind of gained at the end. But now, you know, I actually had my 4-year anniversary of my company. Now I must have done over 500 websites. I handle around 50 social media accounts, so that's a recurring, you know, monthly income. I have around 30 people I'm helping getting on the first page of Google, and now I have, you know, maybe 4 or 5 clients that I'm helping with reputation management. And actually, one of them is a celebrity, you know, who hired us because, you know, we can outprice them, because reputation.com was charging, you know, $50,000 a month to help this person's reputation, and, you know, we can come sweeping in and cut the cost as a fraction of the cost. So, but yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I mean, I guess maybe I can give some advice to you guys, because I know it's tough not knowing what you want to do. I remember I was really depressed. I was really introverted. I knew I had to do something. You know, life is short. You know, I always like to say you get hit by a bus, you know, crossing the street. You know, but you don't want to get hit by a bus, you know, feeling miserable. You want to be at least happy about yourself. You know, you want to just be, you know, making moves, you know, trying to, you know, pursue your dreams, whether it's, you know, makeup, or, you know, having a salon, or having a storefront, or having an online business. You know, you really want to just do it. I mean, don't be afraid. I know it's really scary, and you're gonna make mistakes. I made so many mistakes. It's inevitable. You're gonna make mistakes, but the thing about mistakes is you gotta learn from them. You know, and then a big thing is you gotta listen. You know, I listen to my brother very often because he went through the same mistakes I was going through, and that's my biggest advice. Find a mentor, because the mentor can just cut the time, you know, of learning in half, essentially. Because, you know, my brother, it took him around 10 years to get to the point where I took me like 2 or 3 years. You know, he made so many mistakes, and he would always tell me about them and just say, yeah, you shouldn't do that. No, that's not a good idea. Yes, do this, go to that. But yeah, I mean, that's you know, what the best thing I could, you know, my advice, you know, definitely find a mentor, listen, you know, just research a lot. You know, I remember when I was first starting, I would go on YouTube, and you guys, not that you guys have it easy, but you guys have such a great access of, you know, knowledge now, and like YouTube is like crazy. And I heard some people saying that, you know, they're not good at math. Let me tell you something. I failed my math B regents. You know, I got like a 64. You know, I barely passed it. But, you know, I kind of wanted to challenge myself. You know, I went through pre-algebra, you know, then I went to algebra, trig. I went to calc 1, calc 2, calc 3, linear algebra. And I just taught myself. And that's the biggest thing you have to do. You have to teach yourself. Because if you don't, you can't just rely on somebody else. You got to be resourceful. You got to like think on your feet, you know. Because if you don't, I mean, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. You know, there's definitely a risk. There was some times where I didn't have any money in the bank, but I still had to take money out of my pocket to pay somebody. You know, you don't get that stability. You don't get that paycheck to paycheck. You know, you don't get that health insurance. You don't get, you know, any, you know, retirement fund. You have to do that yourself. And you have to research how to do that. I mean, but then the other side of it is, you know, I get to be my own boss. I don't answer to anybody. You know, if I don't want to work, I don't work. If I want to work, and I end up, you know, working a lot. I always like to say, you know, I don't work 40 hours. I work maybe 60, 70, 80 hours a week because I have clients calling me all the time. I miss like 5 calls during this class. You know, it's just. But yeah, that's my biggest thing. And you know, definitely use, you know, anything you can grab. You know, like, you know, at this point, you know, you're just starting out. Just find somebody. You know, find anyone just to learn from somebody. If it's Ted, maybe your dad, you know, a brother, or, you know, a friend, something like that. Maybe they own their own business, or they're trying to do their own business. You know, just learn. You know, that's the biggest thing. But I don't know if anyone has any questions.
All right, let's have some. All right, I got some questions for Mauricio.
Yeah, you said you're a programmer?
Yeah, I eventually got my computer science degree.
Can I ask you a computer?
Yeah.
Can you break down the different like concentrations in programming and app developments and stuff like that for me?
Okay, yeah. Well, you can either get into, you know, website development. Then there's, you know, database. You know, if you want to work for a big company like that, if you want to work on Wall Street, you know, it's a good field to get into because you can create the formulas that they use heavily to you know, anticipate the stock trade. Really, with programming, you can kind of do whatever you want. You know, and that's why I picked it, because I kind of wanted to be a doctor, but then I didn't want to go to school for 10 years of my life. So I kind of picked half and half, the computer science, and then I eventually wanted to code for the medical field. You know, maybe do some genome algorithms or something like that. But there's really a lot, you know, and the best way to learn, like I said, is YouTube. That's how I learn. I mean, I'll recommend you a YouTube channel. It's called I think he changed it. He used to call it the New Boston, but now it's called Bucky's Room. I learned everything there. Because unfortunately with school, as you might have noticed, not every teacher is as great as Ted. You gotta go out and rate my professor and, you know, check who's the best. But even eventually when you get that high up, you know, your classes are limited. You know, there's going to be a bottleneck course, and you're going to have to take the teacher who everybody hates. But that's not an excuse for you not to learn. You should know the material, and you should know how to be resourceful enough. I mean, I'll tell you the truth, I never went to class because I kind of thought it was a waste of time, because I was like, oh, I can go on YouTube and teach myself. And I eventually did that. You know, I eventually, you know, I kind of, you know, I did some introspective thinking. I just said, you know, what's the best way that I can learn? Because I knew I didn't do well with an instructor in front of me, especially, you know, a lot of my instructors. I went to Queens College, by the way, another CUNY school. They're Chinese, and they have a heavy accent, so it's very tough to understand it. And then the culture is different as well, because the Chinese culture's education system is more strict, it's more streamlined. It's like, oh, here's the textbook, do what you got to do.
Is that a problem with Brooklyn College? I wouldn't know that. Is that a problem with understanding professors? It is, huh? Wow.
You know, because that's
Interesting.
affects.
Yeah.
I had one of my best teachers in Queens College was actually a teacher at NYU. He was great. You know, he was amazing. I can understand him. He broke things down very clearly, and like I said, it's not an excuse. I still learned on my own, even with him. But you have to know how you learn. You know your own process, and that's even another process. You know, I know it's kind of like Inception. You know, you got to go deeper, but you discover yourself.
Talk about your marketing. How did you market yourself? I mean, it's an amazing story, from
Right.
Trader Joe's to having over 500 clients, you
Yeah.
know, from no wealthy family here, you know, and this is someone your peer, your age group. You
Yeah,
just
I'm
made it happen.
actually-
Talk
I'm
about the
actually-
marketing.
Yeah,
How'd you do it?
I'm actually 24. I'm gonna be 25 next month. Yeah, no, I did this. I went to school, and I was doing this at the same time. My biggest hurdle was, unfortunately, I look very young. You know, so whenever I meet somebody, they would always test me and make sure I knew my stuff, and luckily I did. You know, I mean, you know, maybe the first couple of clients I saw, it was a little bit tough because, you know, I didn't know, but from experience, I kept learning and learning. The way I market myself, I'll be honest, is networking. I'm in about 8 networking groups, and these networking groups, what it is we meet every morning. You know, we have breakfast together or lunch. There's around 20 to 30 professionals in each one of my networking groups, and then we exchange business cards. We give business to each other. The biggest thing in business is, and I'm stealing this from one of my group's taglines, is "Giver's Gain." You know, because I'm part of BNI. It's called Business Network International, and this networking group has maybe over 100 groups all over the world. And Giver's Gain, what that means is, I'm going to give you business, so in the hopes that you understand that I want to help you, and I'm going to get that back in return. I also do a lot of not-for-profit work and volunteer work. I did a website for a kidney foundation and I did it for free because I knew I wanted to help her, because she was actually on the transplant list for maybe 10 years already. I felt really bad. I wanted to definitely help her, but I knew I might get business from that because that's how it works. The more people you meet, it's like a numbers game, but it's a numbers game plus relationships. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how. I mean, and I do my own marketing as well. It's a little bit tougher in my industry because website people and social media and SEO people, they're gonna do their own SEO. It's very competitive. But I'd say about 80% of my business comes from networking. I'm also
And referrals, people,
and
happy
referrals,
customers giving you
people,
business.
happy customers. Well, this is what I always do. I call them strategic partnerships. So I'm a website guy. So I always look out for IT professionals, printers, because I can create, the brochures, but I don't do the printing. But it works out for both of us because the printer, he doesn't do websites. So if I can cut him in to get him some of the profit, he has a bigger incentive to give me business. And then it goes the same for him because I'm going to give him my business. Let's say I got a client that needs business cards. I'm going to give it to that printer because I know he's been funneling business to me.
Does everybody understand this concept? Because I really want to stop here for a second. Because what Mauricio just told you, okay, 24 years old kid, okay, maybe my age when I started on my little rampage, okay, that type of networking, connecting the dots, is applicable to every area, every business, anything you're going to ever go into. is what he just told you there in 2 minutes, okay? So you must take notice of how he connected the dots. He works 70, 80 hours a week. He was just telling me over coffee earlier. So he's not working less because he's his own boss. Someday he will work a lot less, I guarantee you with that. But the connecting of the dots, making happy customers refer him other businesses, and then he refers the printer and this guy, and before you know it, everyone's recommending each other, and then you have a whole new group of people coming to a new networking meeting, so you're never running out of people. Now all of a sudden you have too much business, which is a great thing to have too much business.
That's actually my problem right now. I'm getting too much business to handle, to the point where I hired somebody in Jersey to be in Jersey for me, because I physically can't be. I live in Long Island, in Nassau County. Jersey's too far, but there's a lot of business I'm missing out on. The same thing for Suffolk. I just hired a sales rep in Suffolk County, so he can be my representative and find new business and funnel it to me.
So let me tell you why I thought Mauricio was so great to bring to the class. Besides the fact I like bringing in younger people, CUNY graduates, very humble, modest beginnings. He didn't go into that, but very humble, very modest, coming from another country. But the fact that he is able to put this together and do it himself and show you how to do it, is something that you really want to emulate, as you go on, because everybody here has their own story.
Right.
They all want to go out and do it, but as you said, if you don't have it in you, the 70, 80 hours to do that, and to get over all of your fears, depression. He's too busy to be depressed anymore.
Yeah, he can't. I don't have time.
He can't be depressed. He's too busy to be depressed.
I can't just sit in my room. If I sit in my room for 2 or 3 hours, I miss 10 calls, and that's money I leave on the table. I can't do that anymore.
No doubt. So when he built my website, the school website, he built my son's law website. I said to him, wow, how are we going to do this? He says, watch this. So he was able to have me dial in, and me and him were watching each other, and he had a whiteboard, and he designed my site, and he changed the sites, and he had a deck, and here I am. He could have been anywhere. In China, I was watching him, and in 15, 20 minutes, we're both very fast, we were through with it, and we scheduled a time for next week to look at his revisions, but he didn't have to be in a physical location. He didn't have to sit in traffic on the LIE, the belt. He was sitting there in Oceanside in his house, talking to me, using a whiteboard, and this is where you have to use your cleverness. This is how you're going to outdo the next generation, by doing things like whiteboarding and video conferencing. This is the new generation. So you can absolutely clean up on the old school. Happens to be web design is always in need. It's just one of those things that you go on Craigslist, low price web designer, everybody needs that service. Every business, no one wants to, they're all confused when it comes to the web, and they see the Wix commercial, it's free, but then they go there, like, it's much easier to just call somebody.
I always tell people, and this should be some good advice to think about, don't be afraid of competition. I'm a website company, essentially. How many websites? Did everyone watch the Super Bowl?
Sure.
There's 3 commercials with Squarespace, Wix, and some other company, I think. I'd probably GoDaddy was. Those are my competition. And I don't fear competition. I welcome it, because I know I can do a lot better. From Trader Joe's, I learned very good customer service. I learned how to treat my customers like gold. And that's probably the biggest selling point I have. Because you can go to Wix, or you can get a $5 to $10 website. I always tell my clients I'm not cheap, but the thing is, you're going to get exactly what you want. If you go to these big name companies, you're going to be dealing with the sales rep they might be in the Philippines or India, or it might be here, but you're not in contact with them. It's very difficult to do things over the phone. I do things over the phone, but that's only because it's a necessity. But I did meet with Ted initially. And that's the biggest thing. People, even if we're all in virtual, it's a virtual world, people still like that human connection. And that's the one thing I can offer them. That's how I beat most of my competition. So that, I always tell people, go to Squarespace, spend $10, they're gonna come back. And it usually happens that way.
Sure, okay. Any last questions?
One last one. APIs, application manager. Which actually does a programmer get it done, or web designer? Or that's the reason why I asked for the first question.
Okay. Rice?
Yeah, I mean, the programmer is going to be the one that deals with the API. You know, that's the API is pretty much a system that someone else already built, so you can kind of come in and plug and play. Like, let's say someone built a search engine for you, right? So you take their API and you put it on your website, and then maybe you can kind of customize a little bit. APIs, what all that does is it kind of saves you some time rather than building it from scratch. It's kind of like they gave you the car model, and they just let you play with it. You know, you can put whatever you want. You can put a TV in the car or whatever, or something like that. But it just saves you time, and the programmer would be the one to do that. You know, you need to know, some of the programming languages. Like
Are there
Java,
specialty
C++.
firms that just do apps? That just do customized apps for people that are out there?
Because people, what happens, people confuse me a lot. People confuse me that I can take care of the applications and I can to a point, but I try to stay away from it. I usually like to sub it out to somebody else who just focuses on that. Because the thing with programming is every programming field is like, it's like saying football and baseball are the same thing. There's not. It's definitely not. There's different animals.
Can anybody get an app on the Google or on the iPhone store?
Yeah, anyone can make an app.
So anybody here could do that, and there's a procedure.
That YouTube channel that I mentioned is called The New Boston. Yeah, Bucky's from The New Boston. If you want to learn how to make your own app, you can do it there. I think I've seen even websites.
That's spectacular. Do your own apps. Everyone here can learn from Bucky how to make your own app, and then go to in business the next day. Put it on the iTunes store and on the Google Android store.
Yeah, the only thing you have to really worry about with the iTunes or the Android or the Google store is you just have to make sure it's compliant, and then you can just put it up there.
What is it called?
Bucky's Room. Yeah, Bucky's Room. But yeah, question.
Do you have any business cards?
This is
Okay.
How passionate about this work when you first started?
How passionate was I?
Yeah.
I wasn't too passionate. I mean, what it really happened was, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty miserable. Working at the grocery store, going to school, and not knowing what I wanted to do. I was making $10 an hour. I was barely making anything, and they were actually cutting my hours. But that kind of gave me the motivation. I was like, you got to do something. You got to just wake up. Just do anything you can. And that's what I was talking about. Don't be afraid to get into something.
How many of you could relate to that story? I mean, Trader Joe's 4 years ago, having 500 clients, and just sheer muscle, brute force of doing it, promoting it, figuring it out.
And actually,
no money, $500 is all he did to start his business.
And I actually, I didn't even take it that seriously in the beginning. I mean, for the first 2 years, I was just considering it a side job. But then eventually I kind of, said to myself, I'm actually making more money doing this, doing less work, than going to Trader Joe's and listening to the old lady complain that I can't, put plastic, inside paper or something, stupid like that. So I was like, let me just quit. And it was, I'm not gonna lie, it was scary to quit because I was very comfortable getting that paycheck.
Were you living at home at that point?
I was living at home.
Okay, so
So
that
I was
was
saving some money,
Right.
but I mean,
How many
that's,
here living at home? Good chunky? Okay, you save a lot of rent, save a lot of things
Right.
while you're doing that.
so, so I mean, the biggest thing is just don't be afraid. And that was probably the best decision I ever made, quitting Trader Joe's so I can go 100% with my business. And I took it further. Once I graduated, I went full force out of the gate. I was just like, no, I'm not gonna just, keep this as a side job. I'm gonna go join these groups, go to cocktail parties, meet these CEOs, meet these presidents. I even did that to the point where last year I met the daughter, and this is how networking works. You never know who you're gonna meet. I met the daughter of the Latino division of Coca-Cola, and me and her, we hit it off, and then eventually I had to travel. It wasn't a bad job. I had to travel to Jersey, but I eventually did a Coca-Cola for Inca Cola. I did a website for Coca-Cola, a subsidiary of it's Inca Cola, the yellow drink. It's a Peruvian drink, so I did the website for them. But I never would have met that lady if I wasn't at that specific cocktail party at that time. So that's how powerful networking can work. It's who you know. So
And what country did your family come from?
We were originally from El Salvador. Actually, I'm going back next month because I haven't been there in like 10 years. But what happened was, there was a civil war in El Salvador during the 80s. My parents decided we got to get out. So my dad, he crossed the border. He went all the way to New York. He made a name for himself. Then he went back and got us, my brother, me, and my mom. And then we crossed the border again. And then, we just try to make a name for ourselves. And we got lucky. I mean, luck is a big thing in everything. Luckily President Reagan gave us the amnesty because there was so much turmoil back then, so we got our citizenship. So we got there at the right time. But we essentially started from nothing. We were minorities, we didn't know the language, we had to learn. But luckily, we got into video games, me and my brother. We really liked Nintendo a lot, and that's kind of what stemmed
What'd
it.
your parents do?
My mom was a house cleaner, and my dad was a custodian.
Is this the story? Is this the American dream?
Well, I'll tell you my best success story. My dad, he used to work at the Middle Bay Country Club for 25 years as a custodian or a janitor. Hurricane Sandy happened, because we lived near Long Beach, destroys the club. So now my dad's out of a job. He's 60 years old. He's not going to get another job because, his English isn't great. All he knows is how to clean. But me and my brother, we put our heads together. We took the carpet cleaning machine from the country club. We made him a website. We fixed the carpet cleaning machine. We did logos, business cards, brochures, everything. We got him on the first page of Google for a couple of months. We did a heavy campaign on social media on Facebook. So essentially we started his own carpet cleaning business from the ground up. And now he has over 700 clients.
Oh.
That's very useful for us. But it works out for us too, because we tell our clients that story because we want to show how powerful our techniques can be to grow someone's business, especially on social media. Everyone knows social media is probably the biggest hit. Print is dying. Newspaper ads are dying. Penny saver is dying. The biggest way to get out there is social media, and the proof is in the pudding. I always say to my clients, look at my dad's business. He gets half his business from Facebook, and I always tell my clients we have secret, our secret sauce. I like to say for social media, we know how to work it, we know how to use it to our advantage. But the way we learned it is just learned as we went. We just did it through experience. So.
Very, very good. Well, thank you very much. We really enjoyed that.